Redefining the New Millennium. We're very pleased to have the faculty and the staff and students from the Danwoody Campus. And throughout the two-day symposium, we look to see individuals from the community and from other campuses to come and join us to acknowledge and learn from and support this year's symposium theme and focus, September the 11th, Redefining the New Millennium. During last year's symposium, we explored the dance of generations, examining the social, political, economic, and historical influences across generational lines. At that time, last year, we could little imagine or predict the events to come on September the 11th, 2001, and the impact of that one tragic event upon the dance of generations. This single act of inhumanity sent a deafening ring throughout our nation and the world. The pain was and is global, as people around the world will remember throughout their and our lives where we were on September the 11th, 2001. As such, the events of September the 11th affected many of our lives on the Danwoody campus in a very personal way. And as we look back and we remember, there's a faculty member whose spouse had a Tuesday morning meeting scheduled in the World Trade Center. Thankfully, the meeting was canceled. There's a student whose two friends in the Marines were stationed in the Pentagon. Unfortunately, both lost their lives among the ruins. There's a student whose uncle worked in the World Trade Center. He was reported missing. Two students have fathers who worked in the Pentagon. One was slightly injured. The other, thankfully, was not physically harmed. There's a student whose cousin was scheduled to fly out of Boston on Tuesday morning. Fortunately, her cousin decided to remain in Boston for an extra day. There's a faculty member whose brother worked in the Pentagon. The family is thankful that the brother was not physically harmed. And there's a student whose sister was hospitalized and whose uncle was reported missing. The list of brothers and sisters, children, fathers and mothers, grandparents, uncles and aunts, cousins and friends goes on and on. With the deaths, physical injuries, and psychological devastation, the issue is not just that people were harmed, but to the degree. These acts have forever impacted all of our lives. Today and tomorrow, during symposium, we will explore the impact of September the 11th from a number of different perspectives: our lives in Atlanta, Georgia, the lives of the United States citizens, the lives of immigrants, both living in the U.S. and those wishing to immigrate to the U.S., the people living in the Middle East, and the citizens of the world. The events of September the 11th are truly redefining the new millennium. Over the course of the symposium, 7 scholars and presenters will cover topics related to the social, political, scientific, economic, and religious influences of the September 11th attacks on the World Trade Center in New York City and the Pentagon in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. The first topic this morning deals with women's rights in Pakistan. We've all been moved by images of women and children in Afghanistan. Our first speaker is a highly educated Pakistani woman who has worked for women's rights in Pakistan for many years. She will help us to explore the complex interplay between human rights, politics, and religion in the Middle East and the impact of the events in the United States upon them. Later this morning, we'll learn more about the Washington scene since 9/11, including the impact of the media on our perceptions of these events. Since 9/11, new government jobs have been created, laws have been enacted, funds have been redirected, and a spirit of bipartisanship related to a number of political issues has emerged. No doubt, as U.S. citizens, we have been influenced by the words of our President, George W. Bush, and by the coverage of events in our newspapers and on our television sets. Let there be no mistake that we will never surrender our freedom and our spirits. Our nation's human spirit can be seen in the courage exhibited by the firemen, the police, and the occupants of the plane that crashed in that Pennsylvania field. The human spirit is so evident in the outpouring of human kindness around the world. Soon after September the 11th, we learned that some of the terrorists involved in the events had inquired about the use of crop dusters with a possible intent to use the planes as instruments of bioterrorism. On October 4th, 2001, the first confirmed case of inhalational anthrax caused by the intentional release of Bacillus anthracis was identified in the United States. The source of these biological attacks has yet to be identified, but all of these events have resulted in an increased interest in bioterrorism and concern about our vulnerability to biological attacks. Later tonight, we'll hear from an expert on the anthrax bacteria. Tomorrow, the symposium will explore the topics of U.S. immigration, U.S. economics, the Islamic faith, and global peace initiatives as they relate to events of September the 11th. From the corners of the globe, let us not forget that we have friends across the nations. Those killed on 9/11 came from 62 nations, and the leaders of our nations immediately began offering their support. Canada not only accepted redirected airline flights and fed and housed countless passengers on September the 11th, but also pledged her full support. Prime Minister Jean Chrétien spoke at a national day of mourning for the victims of the terrorists in the United States. And he said, "We join all civilized nations in pledging our complete support in the days to come and our full cooperation in bringing those who have committed this awful crime to justice." British Prime Minister Tony Blair expressed no reservation in declaring that his country stood ready to help the U.S. against the perpetrators of the 9/11 attacks. Mexican Foreign Minister George Costanza promised his government full cooperation on a variety of fronts. Russia pledged airspace and arms to fight the Taliban. French President Jacques Chirac said, "In these horrifying circumstances, the entire people of France," and he wanted to emphasize this, "stand by the people of America." We will never forget these images of support and solidarity from around the world. This morning, we are proud to continue on the Danwoody Campus the tradition of the symposium as we celebrate this year and this annual event, which brings to the forefront topics and issues that are pertinent and relevant, all of which demand our focus and attention. The symposium committee, with our two co-chairs, Ellen Sweat, Associate Professor from our Business Computer Science Department, and Laura Mirza, Faculty and Librarian from our Learning Resource Center, along with a host of committee members, worked beyond expectation and so diligently over the past 6 or 7 months in planning this year's theme. What an awesome task and what an absolutely wonderful job they have done to bring us this forum, and I'm extremely proud of the work that this committee has done. As a learning and educational experience throughout the 2-day symposium, we're pleased to have the faculty bring their classes and to have representatives from our student body who will serve as symposium hosts and are serving as well to introduce several of our guest presenters. I hope that the rich information, the dialogues, and the discussions generated by the range of topics from the host of presenters will help to spark your awareness and to raise your level of consciousness about the effects of September the 11th. All of this, the effects upon our nation and the world, and the resultant redefinition of the new millennium. To introduce our first speaker, Dr. Gulshan Haqiq, it is my pleasure to ask one of our students, Julie Pack, to come to the stage and make the formal introduction. I think we're off to a wonderful start and an enjoyable 2-day period, and thank you all for being here, and I hope to see you throughout the 2-day symposium events. Julie, thank you very much.
Thank you and good morning. Thank you for joining us here today, I feel very honored and privileged to be able to introduce our first guest to you. She comes to us from Pakistan, a country that we in recent days have become more and more familiar with. She is a leader in her community with many credits to her name. She is not only a practicing gynecologist at the Mirza Hospital in the city of Jhelum. She is a tremendously active person, not only in her own community in Jhelum, but also in other parts of the world. She is constantly finding ways to make a difference. One of these ways is through her voluntary social welfare work. She not only runs a renowned community center called Al-Markaz in Jhelum, but also works with others in social welfare issues, women's development and special education issues, and has been a counselor and member of various wellness committees for a long time. She has participated in a number of international conferences both in Pakistan and abroad, including the United Nations General Assembly session in October of 1980. She was recently invited again as one of the 2 representatives of Pakistan to the United Nations General Assembly Conference on Children, but could not attend because the conference was postponed due to the tragic events of September 11th. Upon her return to Pakistan after the events of this past fall, she shared her views on the events of that day with an article that she had written for Dawn, a national Pakistani newspaper. Much as students become more knowledgeable in this college in various subjects through the instruction of our professors, I firmly believe that in order to reach a better understanding of the foreign affairs of this world, we must try to see it through the eyes of someone who is already an expert. Our speaker today is that expert, an expert who is a leader in representing women in Pakistan, and is an incredibly qualified and articulate speaker regarding Islam, women, and women's rights. This wonderful person has traveled a long way to join us here today to share her knowledge and views with her speech entitled September 11th and Women's Rights, A Perspective from Pakistan. Now please join me in a warm welcome for Dr. Gulshan Haqiq.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I start with the name of Lord Almighty, the most compassionate and merciful. Dr. McCurdy, Provost of the Danwoody Campus, students, faculty, and community members, may God bless you all. Amen. It's my pleasure and proud privilege to be here on this beautiful spring morning in Georgia. And my thanks to you, Provost McCurdy, and to you, Ms. Julie Pack, for your gracious introduction, and to you, students who are here, and to the organizers of this with the theme, September 11th, Redefining the New Millennium. Here I may find this opportunity to present a token of goodwill and friendship from Pakistan to Dear audience, I feel that all of us here today are related to each other as part of the global community. And each one of us, including me, has experienced the most horrifying and unprecedented events of September 11. I do appreciate the efforts of this great institution, Georgia Perimeter College, to get to know the perspective of women of Pakistan. And here I stand before you to talk about women's rights in Pakistan presently and the promise for tomorrow. if I may just repeat some of the headlines that struck me during that time and shook me from head to toe as terrorists strike New York City and Washington. Twin Towers in rebel, Pentagon and State Departments in flames, 4 hijacked airliners crash, and America on alert. May I have a 1-minute silence now, just in remembrance for those who lost their lives and for those innocent lives who were lost maybe by mistake or all around the world in this effort against terrorism. Well, I was visiting the US, expecting to attend a UN General Assembly session when I witnessed and shared the shock of the people around me. That initial shock changed to grief and then to anxiety, depression, and anger. Who did it? Who could be so powerful to conduct such a highly sophisticated plan in such a manner? Everybody was in rage in those days. I was passing by on the road and somebody just talking to himself, or maybe he was just saying, kill each one of them, kill each one of them. So there was a demand for urgent retaliation and revenge. How should America respond? Wait or attack? If attack, where? The churches, bars, and psychiatry centers kept very busy all those days. Next, I witnessed a period of turmoil and turbulence while still staying here. Display of patriotism showed in the chanting of slogans and waving of the American flag by a nation in mourning. At first, American Muslims got very scared by the sad news from different parts of the country. During that time, some American women who were not Muslims decided to wear the headscarf for one day in Illinois, in Michigan, and in other states as a gesture of solidarity towards Muslims. News of peace rallies in different cities also conveyed a message of reassurance to the Pakistani women in America. Air flights were closed down, and I had to remain in the States for 7 more weeks. My dear friends, I always cherished my memories of my past visits to the US and remembered even more dearly the peaceful atmosphere, the beautiful surroundings, the courtesies of the people, and the freedom and liberty for all my programs. I also had very sweet memories of my American friends residing in the town of Mangla, Pakistan, when the biggest dam in the world was being built in the 60s by the Americans near my home. I also think back to my very first visit to US in 1980, when I had brought my 12-year-old son here for an arm surgery. After his surgery, we were just heading towards the plane when suddenly a young American put his backpack down on the ground and knelt before us. He just, without a word, the young man tied the laces of my son's shoes. His arm was still in the sling. He tied the laces, picked up his bag, and went on. I was so stunned that I did not even have time to thank him. That was an exceptional display of American attitude and behavior which I enjoyed, and I do quote it to my people many times. Because as you know, there are very, very misconceptions about that part of the world here, and there are many misconceptions about America in that part of the world. So I have so many pleasant memories of my good old days and my visits to America. But my most recent trip to America in fall 2001 became a test for my nerves. And after having a tough time in the States, upon my return home, to my surprise, I found the women of Pakistan even more brave and conscious of the world scenario. They knew more than I knew. They were very conscientious, determined, and alert towards their duty towards the nation, and more inclined to know more about their own faith. At first, I found that the women of Pakistan joined in supporting the US and protested against the terroristic attacks. They grieved for the families of Americans as well as for the deceased from other countries, including Pakistan. But soon, there was much to worry about in Pakistan as well. Pakistan's coalition with America threatened its own security and solidarity. The women from all walks of life were genuinely upset. Business was badly affected because of the recession in the economy everywhere. Foreign traders and investors were reluctant to trade with Pakistan or Pakistanis as they were unsure of the stability of the country. So Pakistanis resented all this. There was speculation that war would break out in Pakistan as well. As people learned that American air bases would be established in various Pakistani towns and cities, as missiles flew over their heads towards Afghanistan, Pakistani women were in constant fear for the security of their beloved country, fear for the lives of their families and loved ones in the US, and prayed for the women and children in Afghanistan. And now I may turn to the Pakistani woman herself and the rights accorded to her presently and what rights she dreams of having in the future according to Islam. My dear friends, you will be delighted to know that the average educated Pakistani woman is not a timid, shy, and ignorant soul anymore. She is neither a slave, nor a possession, or a commodity, nor does she allow herself to be treated in that manner. She has a mind of her own. She is able to differentiate between right and wrong. She is able to analyze events and form views. She is able to express herself. But unfortunately, that is not the picture that the West has of her. And for creating that false stereotype of her as a very repressed woman, or a repressed creature, both the Pakistani media and world media are to be blamed. So, let me see what is the reality. Reality is always more complex, as you all know. Pakistani women have evolved through the experiences of many centuries with diverse influences. You probably know that Democratic Islamic Republic of Pakistan was created in 1947 by the majority votes of Muslims, with the goal of providing them full liberty to observe and preserve their own culture and values, which were very much at stake in India. You might be hearing the news of riots even now, which erupt now and then, and this is going on. Pakistan inherited the remnants of the Indian and British class system, and we still see the influences of having lived under the British rule and the leftover effects of the Hindu, Sikh, and Buddhist traditions over there. In spite of many hardships, from the very first day of its existence, influx of refugees, ethnic riots, rehabilitation problems, very poor economy, high rate of illiteracy, lack of skilled personnel and facilities for good governance and security, and many other indigenous factors, Pakistan has managed to survive by the grace of God and aims to play a positive and healthy role to promote goodness and negate the evil in collision with the rest of the world with zeal and vigor. And you will be happy to know that the Pakistan Constitution recognizes the rights and liberties of all men and women equally, though not visibly so far. But all laws must be consistent with Islamic law is a demand by the masses to get the best of human rights for all. But women still have a long way to go to achieve their goals. As we all know that to seek knowledge is a duty of man and woman alike. It's the Islamic teaching and for all the faiths. So a Pakistani woman can go in education field as far as she can, or as far as the parents can afford. And after completing her education, the Pakistani woman is free to choose the career she likes, provided facilities are available there. The women of Pakistan, along with raising their children and running households, work in every field as farmers, dentists, doctors, teachers, nurses, bankers, engineers, political leaders, lawyers, receptionists, air hostesses, factory workers, housemaids, office secretaries, office workers, technicians, hairdressers, artists, and whatnot. This is true even in small or medium cities like Jhelum, where I live in the, in the plains of Punjab. They can own and run their own business and property matters in the way they like, and they don't have to get the permission of the husband to sell or dispose of their belongings. Right of inheritance was granted to women 1500 years ago, and now she gets a definite share from father or husband's belongings by law. The role in politics is gaining high graph day by day. Twice we have seen a woman Prime Minister of Pakistan, and in the present cabinet of President Musharraf, there are 3 women out of a total of 9 cabinet members. The elections are being held this year, and 33% of the seats are set for women. In addition, the Pakistani woman has the right to compete for general seats as well as labor seats, or for a farmer seat if she wishes to. There are 60 seats now fixed for the National Assembly, and National Assembly elections are to be held in August. There is 40% literacy rate at this time. It used to be very low, but with this, there is population explosion, all right. But higher education standards are going higher every year. And you will be astonished to know that in medical colleges, girls occupy 2/3 of seats available to all medical students. This is the latest. And I am sure some boys will soon start raising some slogans, for male students' rights. Male students' rights. My dear students, so far in my comments I have talked about the educated women mostly, who have all the facilities and opportunities. But now we must discuss the rest, the 60% of women's population that lives mostly in the rural areas and in the poor households still. Like all living creatures, women of Pakistan did have a past, and obviously there is a future, while living in the surreal world of the present. What is their past and what will be their future in qualitative terms? The woman, that is the common woman's past and present, can at best be described as marginalized and alienated. That is because customs, taboos and traditions, lack of education, bias, prejudices, discrimination and even male chauvinism. It is also because of the woman's own self-image of sacrifice, withdrawal or reluctance, and inability to strive for the natural and basic human rights. Sounds familiar? Pakistani women face the same challenges as women everywhere. Now, to resolve the issues relating to women's rights all over is urgent and critical need of family studies from different regional perspectives. There should be a positive approach to the issues concerning men, women, child, youth, and the future generations. Flashpoints need to be focused, which are indeed criminal and condemnable in any form or degree. For example, girl-child discrimination, child abuse, wife abusing, rape, gang rape, divorce, or child custody fights, and abuse or dishonor of women in any manner should not be tolerated. Exploitation of womanhood should be stopped. I just remembered, I was here in 1980. I went to Vancouver to attend a triennial conference of International Federation of University Women. And the subject was the dignity and worth of human person. And people, ladies from all over the world, about 1,000 in number, were collected over there. I was in the technical group of doctors, engineers, lawyers, and educationists. So I wondered that everybody was talking about the standard of living. That standard of living is the merit for dignity and worth. And there I was asked the question that, what do you say according to Islam? And I said that Islam gives the message of love and peace and justice for all, because every human being they are all alike. And in fact, they are children from same one couple. The whole world knows that. And the merit in Islam is the merit of good deeds and not the standard of living, just the standard of living. Now we see that rape has become an instrument of war. It is the ugliest and most horrifying and criminal act to be condemned and dealt with drastic steps from the government, the society, and the humanity at large. Again, I think of a lady she was president of Women's Lib of Netherlands. She came to my room and we discussed certain things. And suddenly she said that, don't you think that exploitation of women should be stopped? They are exploited in their ads, in their magazines, and everywhere. not to promote the dignity and worth, but just for the lust. And I agreed. So the traditional and most respectful sociological role of a woman as a homemaker and the moving spirit of the family is what has given continuity to the most fundamental social institution, the family. This has lent stability and security to society itself. The entire credit of this remarkable social role goes exclusively to womanhood, as a daughter, as a sister, wife, and mother, the best of all. Because the women from east and west, north or south, has played this role and respected her responsibility against all odds and hurdles. And she received no support sometimes, or encouragement, appreciation, or even cooperation for this in most of the cases. Still, it's heartening to note that in some sectors of the society, women have received both their rights, protection, and affection. This is particularly true of some traditional societies and systems, and there lies the hope for the collective, bright future of women. Such a tradition needs to be studied, generalized, globalized, and futurized for the larger and long-lasting progress of all women all over the world. Now, to conclude my remarks, I may just recapitulate that Constitution of Pakistan recognizes the rights and liberties of all men and women equal, with utmost respect and dignity of women in addition. Women have every right to speak, to get educated, to seek knowledge. They have definite share in the inheritance. They own property, and they are taken as partners and committed helpers. They can take part in decision making of their own marriage, or she has the right to divorce, etc., etc. They enjoy all the full protection from the male members of the family, who are responsible for the protection as well as bread and for the family, earning bread for the family. They have the right to have equal pay. And in fact, it's a very important saying in Quran that a worker should be paid before the sweat dries on her brow. And there is no distinction or discrimination between men and women. Now I may say just a few words about terrorism. Being a doctor, I look at terrorism as a serious sickness of humanity. It used to be sporadic in certain, it has always been there since the times immemorial. But it used to be sporadic. We used to hear from different parts of the world acts of terrorism going on. But lately, in the 20th century, and by the end of 20th century, it has become so infectious a disease that its tentacles are approaching everywhere. And this is something very serious to think about, to work about, and to study the root causes of this sickness. Unless we dig out the root causes, we can't treat a single patient. If we don't go by the diagnosis, our treatment sometimes goes just waste. And sometimes it can go against the aims or objectives we have got in our. So this is my, as a doctor, this is my analysis that the root causes of the terrorism must be sorted out and approached accordingly. And next thing is, as far as treatment goes, preventive measures are the most important aspect of any treatment or any remedy. Unless we take long-term preventive measures, we can't just deal with drastic steps and feel happy about it. Let's give it a logical, objective thought and act accordingly. And now, my dear students, at the end of my deliberations, I just want to say that you are the angels of hope for today and leaders of tomorrow. Just look around to see that world is full of miseries, violation of human rights, acts of terrorism, and injustices all around us. You concentrate on your studies, keeping higher objectives in your dreams. Try to keep the banner of peace, liberty, freedom, and justice flying all over with sincerity and conviction. Add your efforts to build up a new world, a new life with a new hope for all oppressed, depressed, and sick people who are peace-loving people, and the nations who are peace-loving, but they have to fight for their freedoms. They are fighting. There are, in many areas, people are fighting for the freedom, and they don't know how to. They sometimes just fight with the stones, and sometimes they get hold of whatever thing they get and start fighting again. To find justice for their solution, for their long-awaited problems, and getting their human rights is the answer. And this is how you redefine the new millennium. May God bless you all and help you in all your noble dreams come true. Amen. Thank you very much. You may have any question if you want to put to me. Yes, they have. They have freedom. And if they want to, they can declare. They can declare and change. Yes? So they wouldn't have exactly. They wouldn't have to dress in the robes and everything if they kept the religion? If they change the religion? No, they can. They can. They are free. Every human being is free. But keeping in the religion, and then it's their responsibility to abide by the rules. And if they can't go by that, they are free to choose. They will be. They'll be in the society around, in the family, and they will be. That is just but natural. Illiteracy, in most parts, health problems, still they have to fight for that. Government is doing much efforts to solve that problem. And so the education and health, and then the job opportunities, of course, if the economic gets better, there is a problem of unemployment even in the males, and so it's sometimes women get the opportunity and males just stand in the queue for the same job. So it is there. And I think if the world can do something about it, if the mightier ones and the better the ones who are living in better economic conditions, if they just want to do something, they can make arrangements to give them some skill training, start some sort of opportunities and just help the government in that respect. I've got a paper about the President Musharraf's speech on this 7th of March, on the International Women's Day. And it says that the participation of women in all spheres of economic, social and political life of Pakistan is very, very important to go forward. The economic revival, poverty alleviation, good governance, and political restructuring is the core of his agenda, as he said. Then he said, it's in his words, he was addressing the women of nation. He said that who represent half of the population and mother of the other half. So, and he said that to your empowerment, protection and security, I stand totally committed. So it's very heartening to note that government is doing its best. Another message, if I take this opportunity, I got from the women of Held Kashmir, a Kashmiri leader who is residing in Pakistan, but the whole family is in Held Kashmir. And she has given the data, which is very, very painful, how the women are being beaten, burnt, and exploited in all forms. But it's very painful. And she has given that along with the data, the cause and the history so far, and there has been, everybody must be knowing that since 49, United Nations did pass a resolution, and both countries agreed to that, and that the Kashmiri citizens should be given a right for plebiscite, for a free plebiscite. And this is something all the free countries in the world appreciate, and they do want to do something. But in this case, the world is quiet, and the people are suffering and are being destroyed in a very, very bad manner. We daily listen to the cruelties and brutalities going on there. So she has given that there has been 80,000 deaths in the last decade, and slaughter, rape, arson, and destruction, everything is going on. Now, immediate necessity, which is a message for you all and the people at large. The immediate necessity is the intervention of the international community to bring the violence in Kashmir to a quick end. Initiation of a political dialogue between the representatives of the people of Kashmir and the government of Pakistan and India to set the stage for a democratic and peaceful solution in accordance of UN resolution. I do think that you all agree to this, that there should be a plebiscite. They should decide they want to go with one country or the other, or they want to be independent. It should be left up to them. But political hurdles are always there. I think, if you like, I can send a message in return that people are sympathetic in America. They do want to solve this problem and do want to end this long slaughter going on. Do you agree? Thank you very much, indeed. Yes.
As Americans in the world community,
Yes.
how can we go about, as an average everyday American, what can we do, in your opinion, to help with these issues in other countries abroad in the world, since we are now a world community with 9/11
Yes.
and all the things that have happened?
Exactly.
In your opinion, how can we go, what can we do as Americans to help?
I think, as I said earlier, that they do need help. Even the governments need help in promoting the opportunities for education, health, and economic, in any way. And especially, I think, for women side of it, this skill training, and even for the boys. If the males of the family, they are economically better, the whole family will have better conditions. So this is something, I think, all those who are at the upper level, they should think of the neighbors and the people and the communities abroad to alleviate their miseries and to take them above the basic level. Yes. I think that there is more of adrenaline production everywhere, and there is so much incentive to know, to think, and to do something. So they are more energetic towards their own nation building, their own home building, their family building, and they think about the rest of the world and with responsible thoughts.
I'm sorry, we're going to have to end it here. There are refreshments in the atrium until 11:10 when our next speaker will be here. But you can ask Dr. Haqiq any questions you may have during that time.
Yes, I'll be available. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
گزشتہ ماہ امریکہ کے شہر اٹلانٹا میں ویمن رائٹس کے حوالے سے ایک سمپوزیم منعقد ہوا، جس میں پاکستان سے ڈاکٹر گلشن حقیق مرزا کو بھی مدعو کیا گیا، جنہوں نے اس سمپوزیم میں بھارتی فوجیوں کے ہاتھوں کشمیری خواتین کے حقوق کی پامالی کے بارے میں درد بھری تفصیلات بیان کی۔ آئیے دیکھتے ہیں کہ وہ اس بارے میں کیا کہتی ہیں۔
پچھلے ماہ مجھے امریکہ کی ریاست جارجیا میں ڈنوڈی کیمپس کی طرف سے دی گئی دعوت میں کہ ایک سمپوزیم میں مجھے حصہ لینے کا بھرپور موقع ملا۔ وہاں مجھے فرسٹ اسپیکر کے طور پہ خواتین کے حقوق پہ خصوصی طور پر روشنی ڈالنے کا موقع ملا، چونکہ کشمیر ہمارا بہت بڑا پرابلم ہے، تو مجھے کشمیر کی خواتین کے متعلق بات چیت کرنے کا بھی اس سمپوزیم میں بہت اچھا موقع ملا۔ وہاں بہت اسٹوڈنٹس کی بہت تعداد تھی، فیکلٹی کے لوگ تھے، یونیورسٹی کے لوگ تھے، کمیونٹی کے لوگ تھے، اور اس دن سنا گیا ہے کہ سمپوزیم میں ریکارڈ اٹینڈنس تھی۔ ان کو جب کشمیر کی حالت زار بتائی گئی کہ وہاں پچھلے 50 سال سے زیادہ عرصہ ہو چکا ہے، جبکہ یونائٹڈ نیشنز کی طرف سے جو قراردادیں ہو چکی ہیں اور بار بار ہو چکی ہیں، اور اس میں کسی قسم کا کوئی ابہام نہیں ہے، وہاں کی جو کوشش جاری ہے وہ ریاستی دہشت گردی کے خلاف عوام کی اپنی کوشش ہے، لیکن ابھی تک دوسری دنیا کی طاقتیں جو ہیں جو کہ انصاف کا ڈھنڈورا پیٹتی ہیں، فریڈم کے لیے اور لبرٹی کے لیے ان کے بڑے نعرے ہیں، لیکن اس معاملے میں ان کا کوئی ایکٹیو رول نظر نہیں آتا۔ تو میں نے ان لوگوں کو وہ ڈیٹا بتا کے کہ 80,000 کے قریب اب تک شہید ہو چکے ہیں، اتنا نقصان پہنچا چکے ہیں، اور خصوصاً عورتوں کی حالت زار جو بتائی، جس میں ان کو یہ بتایا کہ عورتوں کو وار ویپنز کے طور پہ استعمال کیا جا رہا ہے، اس سے بڑی ٹریجڈی کیا ہو سکتی۔ تو ان لوگوں پہ اتنا اس بات کا اثر تھا کہ میں محسوس کر رہی تھی کہ تمام حاضرین کے چہرے بدل رہے تھے جیسے جیسے میں نے ان کو یہ حالات پیش کیے ان کے۔ ان سے میں نے اسٹوڈنٹس کو میں نے ایڈریس کر کے کہا کہ آپ آج اینجلز آف ہوپ ہیں، کل آپ لیڈرز ہوں گے، کل کے لیڈرز ہوں گے، تو آپ پہ یہ ذمہ داری عائد ہوتی کہ آج سے آپ اپنی ذمہ داریاں سنبھالیں، اور جہاں جہاں آپ کو اس طرح کے بے انصافیوں کے حالات نظر آتے ہیں آپ اپنی آواز اٹھائیں اور ان میں شامل ہوں۔ تو اس ساری کوشش کے بعد میں نے ان سے پوچھا کہ اگر آپ کے اندر ضمیر ہے، زندہ ہے، اور آپ چاہتے ہیں کہ دنیا کی لیڈرشپ بھی آپ کے پاس ہو، تو پھر جہاں جہاں بے انصافیاں ہو رہی ہیں اس کے لیے آپ کو آواز بھی اٹھانا ضروری ہے، اور جو یونائٹڈ نیشنز کی طرف سے فیصلے ہو چکے ہیں اس پہ عمل درآمد کے لیے بھی آواز اٹھانا بھی ضروری ہے، اور اپنی حکومتوں پہ اس کا ان کو اس طرف ان کی توجہ دلانا بھی ضروری ہے کہ وہ کیوں نہیں آج تک اس پہ عمل درآمد ہو سکا۔ تو اس کے بعد میں نے ان سے پوچھا کہ اگر میں ایک ریزولوشن آپ کے سامنے پیش کروں، اور تو آپ مجھے اجازت دیں گے کہ میں کشمیری عوام کو، ان معصوم لوگوں کو، ان معصوم خواتین کو جو اس وقت اس چکی میں پس رہی ہیں، آپ کی طرف سے ایک حوصلہ کا، آپ کی طرف سے ایک ہمدردی کا، اور اس کوشش کے ارادے کا کہ ہم پوری کوشش کریں گے کہ ہم ان کے لیے راستے، انصاف کے راستے کھولیں۔ تو میری اپنی حیرت کی انتہا نہ رہی جب کہ تمام ہاؤس میں تمام لوگوں نے دونوں ہاتھ کھڑے کر کے اتنی دیر تک تالیوں سے اور آوازوں سے مجھے یس میں جواب دیا کہ ہاں ہماری طرف سے یہ پیغام آپ ان کو پہنچائیں۔ میں نے ان سے ٹیررزم اور فریڈم فائٹنگ کے فرق محسوس کرنے کے لیے بھی ان سے کہا کہ یہ بہت ضروری ہے کہ آپ بجائے اس کے کہ آپ سب کو ایک ہی لاٹھی سے ہانکیں،